The government released a statement of changes in immigration rules. I feel it's very important that I brought this to you because it was published on 19th of February 2024. Many people have been asking what happens to our children who came from outside the country and they have stayed here for a while now. And I want to switch to a care worker visa, and my wife wants to switch to a care worker visa too. What happens to our kids? I feel this particular document explains everything, and it is just official, guys. It is just final. They have published it, so they are not going back on it. So it's a legitimate document that tells you what exactly works and the changes in legislation that will be implemented. So there's no going back. This is actually happening. If you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Cynthia. I share information that will help your transition abroad to be as smooth as possible. I share information about settling, working, or studying in the UK, US, or Canada. If any of these countries interest you, please subscribe to my channel. Hit on the notification bell so that each time I drop a new video, you know it's time to watch Cynthia Academy. And without wasting time, let's get into this video. Like I said, there has been a lot of confusion. People want to know what happens to their dependents, especially children who have lived in the UK since, I don't know, maybe 2 years of when you are pursuing your master's or whatever program you are in. And perhaps the parents want to switch to a care worker visa under the code 6145 and 6146. Can their dependents switch with them? That is the major question that has been asked. And I feel this document announces and explains everything clearly. Now, I'm going to be reading the aspects that has to do with skilled worker visa because that's the area we are concentrating on. It also talks about youth mobility and the Ukraine sponsorship scheme. And if you're interested in those aspects, I will keep the link to this document in the description as usual so I can explore it and read it and understand it better. It starts with changes to appendix skilled worker. Let's read SW 6.1a. If the applicant is applying for permission to stay and was previously granted permission as a skilled worker sponsored in the occupation code 6145 care workers and home carers or 6146 senior care workers under the rules in force before 11th March 2024 and since then has continuously had permission as a skilled worker sponsored in either or both these occupation codes, except that where paragraph 39E applies, that period of overstaying will be disregarded, and is applying to continue working with the same sponsor as in their most recent grant of permission. The Care Quality Commission regulation requirement for these occupation codes does not apply. So what does that mean? If you're already in the UK as a care worker under code 6145 or senior carer 6146 and you want to extend your stay, you don't need your employer to be regulated by CQC. So it's very clear, very clear. There is no need for that because you're just trying to extend your stay and you're already in the UK as a care worker. That is fine. Now the next one in SW 29 1A and B, P. Remember, P is the applicant we're talking about, the care worker that is already an applicant that he wants to apply. P must not have or be applying for entry clearance or permission to stay as a skilled worker sponsored for a job in the occupation code 6145 care workers and home carers or 6146 senior care workers unless P was granted entry clearance or permission to stay as a skilled worker sponsored in the occupation codes 6145 care workers and home carers or 6146 senior care workers under the rules in force before 11th March 2024. And since the grant of entry clearance or permission to stay in A, P has continuously had permission as a skilled worker sponsored in either or both these occupation codes. So what does that mean? Now, if you want to switch to a care worker, maybe you have been on another visa, maybe you're a student or maybe any other visa option, and you want to switch to a care worker under the 6145 or senior carer 6146, it is very important that you check that your employer is regulated by CQC if that application is going to be made from 11th of March 2024. So that is why I said from now on, if you are looking for a job that has visa sponsorship, you have to make sure that your employer has two things. The first one is that your employer is regulated by CQC, and the second thing is that your employer has the license to sponsor you. I've shown a video, I'm going to put it here, where you can check, what you have to do before you submit an application for a job. If you want visa sponsorship, you check this. Some employers might be regulated by CQC but not have the license to sponsor you, and some employers might not be regulated by CQC but have the license to sponsor you. So it's very important that you check these two things before you submit a job application to save yourself from stress. In Appendix Children, where CHI 3.1a or b refer to the applicant applying as the child of a person, P must not be a skilled worker sponsored for a job in the occupation code 6145 care workers and home carers, or 6146 senior care workers, unless P, remember P is the person that is the main person that is going to hold that care worker visa, was or is being granted entry clearance or permission to stay as a skilled worker sponsored in the occupation codes 6145 care workers and home carers, or 6146 senior care workers, under the rules in force before 11th March 2024. Since the grant of entry clearance or permission to stay in P has continuously had permission as a skilled worker sponsored in either or both these occupation codes. And also it says that the applicant was born in the UK. So this has to do with our children, and it's very clear. It says that if you're a child and you were born in the UK, you'll be allowed to stay. That's one thing. Now, if you're a child and you were not born in the UK, and maybe you came as a dependent with your parents into the UK through a dependent of a student, dependent of any other visa, and your parents, P, that is trying to switch to a care worker visa, and you will not be allowed to be a dependent of your parents if it is from 11th of March 2024 that you submit your application. So the dependent option for 6145 and 6146 will be removed. So I just want people to understand that this is very clear. I don't know why many people keep saying that, oh, don't worry, because they stay within the other document, therefore they would allow kids to stay. It's very clear. If both parents get a COS under these codes, they won't allow your kids to stay. That is what I have gotten from this. It's very, very clear. It's absolutely clear, seriously. And it's so sad that this is happening. I'm not really happy about it, but I have to state it as clear as possible. And I feel like, I don't know, until the government announces something and says, oh yeah, if you are a child in the UK, we might do this for you. Until that, please make other arrangements. You can pursue jobs in other codes that will allow you to have dependents. I just feel that from that 11th of March, the dependent option for care workers will not be there again. That's for care workers that have the code 6145 and 6146. Please just find an alternative option so that you save your children from stress or defaulting. You save your wife or your husband from defaulting. I wouldn't want you to stay an extra hour in the UK. Oh my goodness. Past your visa expiry date. It's not nice. Remember that the UK, US, and Canada, and New Zealand, and Australia, they share immigration information. And if you default in one, if you apply for a visa in other countries, they won't accept you. So I don't want you to start developing this problem now. Please call the government, ask them this question clearly. Stop making assumptions. The government site that the other one was published, where they omitted the stay with, was a blog. But the fact sheet, the one that was published on 24th of December, was very, very clear, or 21st of December was very, very clear. It was an official government website. Please plan accordingly. I wish you the best. I'm rooting for you. Bye-bye.